You build a better truck, or at least your ego tells you it's better. But here's what nobody tells you. You can spend thousands of dollars upgrading your 4x4 and actually make it worse. Not slower on paper, worse to drive. Heavier, sluggish, just off. And the reason? Simple. Every mod you add is just stacking weight. Bigger tires, heavier wheels, a tire carrier out back, and you're still not done. Then one day you feel it in the throttle, steering, braking, and then that's when it clicked. Weight is the mod that changes every other mod. And once you see it, you start looking at every upgrade differently. And honestly, the one I ended up choosing might not be the one you think. I'm John and this is Project Chem. No sponsors, no discount codes, nothing for free. This is all on my dime. So if something works, I'll tell you. And if it doesn't, I'll tell you that too. No sales pitch, no borrowed opinion, just what actually makes sense. So let's get into it. When I moved to 37-inch tires, I knew there would be trade-offs. What I chose to overlook is just how much weight that change would add. Every 37-inch tire is approximately 20 pounds heavier per corner than the stock setup. Multiply that across 5 tires and you'll see where this is going. Now you're pushing 100 pounds. Add your aftermarket wheels and that number climbs even higher. Then the oversized tire needs to be mounted somewhere. The stock carrier ain't gonna do it. So that big chunk of weight hanging off the back needs an upgrade. Add a tire carrier and now you're even putting more stress on the back of the Bronco. And let's face it, this isn't just about total weight, it's about where the weight sits on your rig. Weight in the back, that affects balance. Weight up front, that affects steering, braking, and ride quality. And with the 4-cylinder Bronco on 37s, you're gonna feel every pound. And nobody really talks about that part. So when I started looking at front bumpers, I realized this wasn't just about weight or protection. It was about keeping the vehicle as light and balanced as possible. So when I started shopping for bumpers, I wasn't asking which one of these looked most aggressive. I was asking, how much weight am I willing to hang off the front of this thing? Most people choose a bumper based on style or how aggressive it looks. Others go straight for maximum protection. But that's not how I use the Bronco. This is a daily driver that hits trails, not a rock crawler. So for me, adding a massive steel bumper and a winch wasn't an option. I wanted something that would keep the weight down, improve approach angles, actually give me a more aggressive look, which this thing needs, not affect how my rig handles, and still offer some level of protection. That's my criteria. Now I just need to find it. I dug deep. Well, more like fell down a bumper rabbit hole. But what I realized is most of these fall into 3 categories: plate, hybrid, and tubular style bumpers. Plate bumpers are the tank, ARB, CBI, Fab 4, built to take a hit, but they're heavy. I mean like really heavy. And for how I use the Bronco, that just didn't make sense. Then you got tubular bumpers, lightweight, simple, clean. And at first, that's what I thought I wanted. But the more I looked at them, the more they started feeling a little stripped down. You lose structure, you lose protection, and a lot of them just didn't feel like a complete solution. I don't really want a full tubular bumper. I want something between a plate and a tubular. I want a hybrid. Just not the overbuilt ones. I'm not looking for overkill, I'm looking for functional. Once I got that figured out, I started comparing real options. And here's where it got interesting. There are a lot of tubular bumpers out there that have different names, but they're actually the same product. Barricade, Red Rock, even Black Horse light duty version. Same design, same structure, just different names. And honestly, it's not a bad thing. They're lightweight, simple, and they'll do exactly what I need. Then I thought, what the fuck? Let's look at more premium options. I looked at DV8, and at first I wasn't sure about it. It's minimal, which I liked, but I wasn't sure if it was gonna be enough. The more I looked at everything side by side, the more it started to make sense. It's lighter, simple, and stays in that range I was trying to protect. So I went from something I wasn't sure about to, this might fucking work. Turn Off-Road had a solid option, thick-walled tubing, integrated skid. On paper, it looked good. But here's the thing. I have one of their products on my Bronco, the tire carrier, and it had some fitment and quality issue. But to their credit, their customer service handled it well and made it right. Just took some ingenuity on my part. And honestly, if it weren't for that experience, I would have pulled the trigger on this. But for me, it was just enough to hold me back. I didn't want to take that chance. This isn't some little Amazon gamble. It's a bumper. You don't just order it, hang it, and send it back. Then I found True North, and I'll be honest, I felt like that was the one. Clean design, heavy duty, real material, fully welded, and had that old school vibe, which I love. But then reality hit. 15 to 18 week lead time. I'm not in a rush, but sometime this century would be nice. $300 freight? Ouch. And that's not even to my door, terminal pickup. And on top of that, I'd still have to get it powder coated locally, unless I wanted to pay the factory $400 for paint. And they don't even recommend that for potential shipping damage. And once I finally got an answer on weight, it landed right in the heavy range. So now I'm waiting months, dealing with freight logistics, and adding another step just to finish the part. At some point, it stops being buy a bumper and it turns into a whole nother fucking project. And here's where it took a turn, because I started trying to figure out one simple thing. How much do these things actually weigh? Not shipping weight, not guesses, real numbers. And to be honest, that was a pain in the ass. Emails, phone calls, sitting on hold just to get straight answers. So I stopped trying to look at everything and focused on the bumpers that actually mattered to me and laid it out side by side. This is what nobody shows you. Depending on what you choose, you're adding anywhere from 10 to 130 additional pounds to the front of your truck. Holy shit. Same upgrade, same truck, completely different result. So I stopped guessing and I laid out all three of these side by side. And this is what it actually looks like. You're not picking between a few bumpers, you're picking where you want to land on this scale. From the lighter strip down setups all the way up to the full armor. And depending on where you land, you're adding anywhere between 10 pounds to well over 130 pounds additional to the front end of your truck. That's the spread. This is the range I kept coming back to, the 60 to 80-ish pound zone. And what stood out is you actually got a lot of solid options. DV8, competition, ADD, turn, even SoFlo. A little more weight, but they include the lights. Different looks, different designs, but they're all playing in the same weight class. And that matters, because now you're choosing based on design, features, and preferences, not just trying to avoid wrecking how the truck feels. Now you move up into this range, and now weight becomes part of the decision whether you like it or not. You're into that 100 to 120 pound zone. Fab 4, CBI, DV8, they all start landing right in this spot. And at this point, it's not just what looks good, it's am I okay with what this is going to add to the front of the truck? Because everything up here is built around more structure, more capability, and that comes with a cost. And then you've got the end of the spectrum, 170, almost 180 pounds. This is full armor territory, recovery focused, built to take hits. Designed for a completely different kind of use, and yeah, it looks aggressive as hell, my favorites. But this isn't just a style choice anymore. This is commitment to a different type of build. And then you've got stuff like where you can't even get a straight answer. I reached out directly to ARB and the answer I got back was basically, they're about 70 pounds different. And the price difference is just based on demand. But we're talking about a huge price difference and still no actual installed weight, no real data. So at this point, you're not making a decision, you're just guessing. So when you zoom out and look at all of it, this isn't just a list of bumpers, it's a range of completely different outcomes. Lightweight setups, heavier structured builds, full armor, budget options, and then the stuff that looks perfect until you actually try to run it. So now this wasn't just about looks anymore. Now here's something most people don't think about when they add a bumper. It sits tighter, looks better, and fills that whole front end. But right behind it, that's your aftercooler. Most people don't even realize it's there or what it's doing. So here's the truth. The bumper itself isn't the problem. The Bronco already blocks part of the lower intercooler from the factory. The problem is what you stack on top of it. Winches, lights, brackets. Now you're not just filling space, you're restricting airflow. For most people, you'll never notice. But if you're pushing it, heat, load, long hauls, now it matters. The bumper isn't what hurts you. It's all that shit you're bolting onto it. After going through all that, I landed somewhere pretty simple. I don't need the best bumper. I just need something that makes sense for how I use it. I'm already carrying extra weight from the 37s, the spare in the rear carrier. Hanging another 100 pounds off the front for capability I'm not going to use? Well, that doesn't make sense. So it actually came down to three things. What I want, what I can afford, what actually makes sense for this build. And I just tossed what I can afford out the window because it wasn't the cheapest option. The winch style bumpers, still by far my favorite look, no question. But I'm not running a winch and I know what they weigh. That changes things real quick. So I looked at ADD. And that's where things flip, because it gave me the look that I actually wanted without adding the weight penalty I was trying to avoid. Yeah, it's more money and there's no way around that, but this is also the front of the truck. It's the first thing you see and it's the last thing you look at when you walk away. And for me, it's not a part I want to cheap out on and upgrade later. And honestly, I have a rule. I call it the look back. If your truck is worth it, you'll know what I'm talking about. You park it, you start walking in the store and you turn around and look back. That's when you know you've got a good looking build. Kind of like Tom Selleck did in Quigley Down Under. If you know the movie, you know what I'm talking about. So I went with the ADD Bomber because it hits the balance I was looking for. It improves the approach angle and it doesn't add capabilities I'm never going to use. Not the cheapest, not the most extreme, but the one that fits this build. At the end of the day, I wasn't chasing the best bumper. I was trying to find the one that actually fit this build. Because every mod adds weight and every upgrade changes something else. And if you don't pay attention to that, you end up building something that looks great, but drives worse. The best bumper I looked at ended up being the one that actually made sense, and that's the whole point. So that's what I went with. In the next video, I'll walk you through the install and show you how it actually turned out. Because if there's one thing I've learned, it's never as simple as they show you on paper. And if you're building your Bronco, drop your setup in the comments. I want to hear what you're building and why. I'm John, and this is Project Chem.